I saw Prometheus a few days ago, and I am here to tell you all that I thought it was completely kick-ass. I know that this movie has kind of been a little bit mixed in terms of the reception it's been getting. Some people really like it, some people are really frustrated with it, and I am definitely one of the people that is completely entranced by it for a lot of reasons. One being, or a few of them being, the fact that it really does keep going with the tradition of those original sci-fi films that we love so much from the 70s or 60s, or 50s, what have you. Just like Alien itself, it keeps going with that tradition. It's not, so dependent on action schlock, in the James Cameron norm. It's much more about ideas, and it's got a wonderful sense of kind of, I don't want to say claustrophobia, but a sense of intensity, a slow build, and you just don't really get that often today in movies. And I really like the fact that this film had definite spatial coherence. There was a definite idea behind the cinematography. It wasn't all just a bunch of visceral shaky cam that we get so often today that it drives me crazy. And also, it's a film that's based on ideas and things like that, and I found that really, really refreshing. I did make a comment. I think it was on Twitter, and I was talking in reference to 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I had said that I had just finished watching it, and I was talking about the fact that today in our world is so, or our world of movies and Hollywood is so based on action and CGI and all that sort of stuff, and you just don't really get interesting blockbuster films that really are based on interesting concepts that really get you thinking about things. And I said that I didn't think movies like that could be made anymore. And finally, I was proven wrong. And I love being proved wrong, especially when talking about my ideas for the future of Hollywood, because I have a very pessimistic look on Hollywood and its future. So when I'm proven wrong in that respect, it makes me totally happy. A lot of the criticism from this movie, or what I've noticed, has stemmed from the idea that this movie poses a lot of questions but really doesn't have any answers for them. And, I get that. On one hand, I do agree with those people, but on the other hand, I really do have to say I like the ambiguity um, in the movie. I really like the fact that you don't have any easy answers. And what I think the film does so well is that it really recognizes the flaws of human beings. And, there are good things about human beings, obviously, but there are also things that aren't good, especially when it comes to emotion. And when it comes to emotion, humans are great because they have lots of questions about the idea of evolution and where we come from, and lots of different questions about the universe, etc. And that's great when you have questions and you want to know where you come from. But at the same time, emotion gets in the way of a lot of different things, and we end up making so many mistakes because of that. And this film certainly recognizes it. And so, yes, you may be a little bit unsatisfied by the fact that there's no answers to any of these questions, but I think it's very true to life. And because, in our world, it doesn't matter who you are, everyone has questions about where we come from and that sort of thing. And none of those questions have been answered ever since, life began on Earth. And, who knows when they'll be answered, if they ever will be. So I found the film to be very realistic in that respect. It really does stay grounded with the human beings. And it's much more kind of about gray areas. And that's actually why I like the way the film looks when I compare it to Alien, because Alien is much more kind of horrific. It all takes place on a ship, and it's very kind of intense and claustrophobic. But this film is very kind of barren, and it takes place on this very wide area with lots of rocks and lots of just very vast open plains. And that really is a wonderful metaphor for the ideas in the film. My favorite thing about the film probably was David the android, played by Michael Fassbender. And I just love Michael Fassbender. I think he's one of my favorite new actors that we have today. He's just so, he's really intense. He's a very intense actor. He reminds me a lot of Brando in so many ways. But I think it's just in his face that there's just something that's so unsettling about the way that he looks. He's that kind of guy where, in some ways he is kind of very masculine and interesting, but he's also very, very vulnerable. but he also has that potential. It's like he could snap at any moment. He looks dangerous, and that's great, especially when you're playing this kind of character. And he conveys all of that with so little, because you have to when you're playing an android. But I just like the idea of androids in general. Man versus machine, that's a bit of a vague concept, but I've always been interested in those concepts when thinking about science fiction and that sort of thing. It's just sort of like, I know that Spock from Star Trek isn't a robot, but he might as well be. He's half Vulcan. But this idea of emotion versus non-emotion, whether or not androids would be a good addition to the human race or not, I don't think it's an easy yes or no answer, and you really do see that dichotomy with David. And it's just interesting. I'm a Star Trek fan, so I think of Data in Next Generations, and also the race of the Borg and that sort of thing. So I just love all of the different concepts that you get in the film. Yes, there aren't many answers. Yes, there are a few kind of stereotype stock characters that I felt were definite throwaways. And the one thing that did really make me angry besides that was just the ending. I felt like it was really overt, and with the fact that it's like, yes, we're pushing a sequel, and that it just really was distracting to me. But other than that, I think I was really pleasantly surprised with this film, and I think that if you just really like good old-fashioned science fiction, or you're just a fan of Alien, I'd say more Alien than Aliens, but yeah, I think you'll really enjoy this movie. So go see it. Let me know what you think. You can follow me on Twitter, and see you next time.